Hey folks, I don't know how long this is going to be, probably 2 hours. I'm doing a quick video on a new program I'm going to be using called Affinity Photo. I gave up on Photoshop because I'm really not feeling the monthly payment for CC. It's basically now way more expensive to use Photoshop or any of the Adobe products than to find something else to use instead. I was using Clip Paint Studio. I just started getting into the groove of it. I had bought a graphic tablet, a Wacom bamboo tablet, maybe around 4 or 5 years ago. I got a new computer, I reinstalled that on it, and then after I finished reinstalling it, I had a situation where I had to go get the licenses. I was having a lot of license issues. I downloaded the license, put Clip Paint Studio on, and I was using them thinking this is fantastic. Then let me show you what happens now whenever I start Clip Paint Studio. And if I have to buy another license or go jumping through hoops, which I'm really not interested in doing, I'm going to show you what I get when I try to open up Clip Paint Studio. And this is why I am like completely fed up with it. And I have like 2 versions of it on my computer, which I really don't understand why. So I'm going to try to open up the application. I'm going to show you my bouncing. Ooh, did my screen freeze? All right, let me see if I can get that. Okay, so Clip Paint Studio opens. Where'd the mouse go? Let me see if I can get to it. All right, Clip Paint Studio open. So this is what I'm getting now. Processing license verification. Valid term for license have expired. Thank you for choosing your product. So my point is, what do you mean the license expired? Didn't I buy the thing? Like, I'm done. Like, Clip Paint Studio is going, and I am not bothering. Every time I try to go through this thing, I went through this about a week ago. I couldn't figure out how to get a new license or get my old license, which was on the Wacom site. And I just do not feel like wasting my time trying to figure this out. So I'm going to be uninstalling Clip Paint Studio also. And thank you. It's going to close the application. So I'm done with that. What I'm doing now is I'm going to be using a program called Affinity Photo. If you ever look up on YouTube for Affinity Photo comparisons with Photoshop, it has some cool features that are a little bit different than Photoshop, and there is a learning curve. Like if you've been using Photoshop for years, like I was before I became a Procreate nut, you literally are it's gonna take a little bit of looking around and trying to get used to things. So I'm gonna open up Affinity Photo. So this is the first thing I was trying on Affinity Photo. This is I did this with my mouse. What's kind of cool is usually when you merge layers in Photoshop, when you do your merge layers, all the initial layers that you had before are gone and you don't have those anymore. What Affinity Photo does, which is pretty interesting, which I didn't expect to see. Let me get rid of view. That doesn't really matter. It generates a brand new layer, like of the combined things instead. So what it did is it took this picture that I have of all these different layers and it combined them into one brand new layer, which I thought was actually pretty cool. Then what I just did is I scaled it down, and what's nice is everything that you see here, you can still see the layers. So this is how I actually started drawing this. This is what I've been showing folks in the last few days about how easy it is to draw. So I did this with the mouse. I did the line, the curve, the dot, the U that's around it to form the iris, and then I did the eyelid. And then I did this quick nose with a line and 2 little round edges at the side. And since I was getting lazy and I didn't want to draw the eye, I copied the eye that you saw before and just flipped it. And then I dropped my mouth in. So this was the next piece. Then after I did the mouth, I added using the pen tool. I created that line, lazy again, copied it and flipped it. So I have the kind of the face layout. And I drew all of this stuff. So I basically generated all of these other pieces on top of it with a smaller brush, did the ears and everything to generate that face. So it's pretty cool. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't know the program a lot. I don't know 100%. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna go over using it a little bit and show you some of the cool features that I actually saw that I already like. It has something that I also really like a lot. It has the arrange tab. So if you're bringing things forward and back, so I believe if I was to take this, that actually controls the height of your layers. So when I just push that one, it sent it backwards by 1. So if you look at the layer right here, this used to be on top. Now it went back down. If I want to bring it back up, I press it once and it brings it back up. If I want to make this layer go all the way to the bottom, so it being on top, it's floating. Since nothing's colored, you can't really tell. But if I want to send it all the way to the bottom, that's what the first one here is, move to back. Now the layer drops all the way to the bottom. And then if you want to bring it back all the way to the top, move to front. I love this stuff personally because I use graphics, Autodesk graphics, when I'm doing a lot of my lettering and stuff. So I like to be able to move my layers a lot easier instead of me being forced to drag layers like this and trying to line them up. This allows you to move the layer one by one pretty easily. Is this a new layer button? Ooh, add a pixel layer. So everything that is drawn with the brush is called a pixel layer. Do I have any other type of brushes? But like just looking at the tools are like really interesting to me. Like you have the Paintbrush, which is just your general brush. I don't know how to do new brushes yet, but that's something I'm gonna look up to probably figure out how to do. This is a color replacement brush, which is pretty cool. So I guess you can change colors without having to go through a lot of rigmarole. Its eraser tool it's basically a brush, and it has a background erase brush. So literally you can erase the background from pictures. That's just nuts to me. And then it has a flood erase tool, which can erase whole sections of stuff, which I've never seen in Photoshop personally, but I think that's pretty cool. Everyone knows this tool. That's the clone. That's the clone tool. It should work just like the clone tool in Photoshop. This should be the undo history brush or the history brush in Photoshop. There's your dodge, your blur, your smudge tool. I have no idea what a medium tool is, but I'm going to find out. Then here's your pen tool. It has the pen tool and the node tool. And I'm going to show you something really cool. I'm going to be doing a drawing of Blue Jay in the next time that I open it up. And what I want to do with it is I'm going to be using a program called Astropad. So if you're wondering what Astropad is really cool. It turns your iPad into a graphic tablet. So let me just give you a quick example by taking you to the site so you can see. So literally right now, everything that you see right now on the screen is being mirrored on my iPad screen because I'm in Astropad currently. So if you want to see what I'm seeing, let me see if, oh, I'm not connected to the computer. So I pretty much am seeing a section of the screen just like this. When I scroll on my screen, it actually scrolls on my iPad. So again, if you guys are talking about Cintiq and like, wait, how can I use a professional program, or I like using Photoshop, so on and so forth, your iPad can basically become that graphic tablet. So instead of you buying a computer and then buying a tablet, if you spend a little bit more and get yourself an iPad Pro, you can have the same thing. Astropad costs about $30, I believe. On just the basic one is called Astropad Standard. There's a much more comprehensive one that gives you more features, but that's like a monthly or yearly subscription fee, which I just don't like. So Standard works 100% for me, and I'm gonna do that. So one-time fee, Standard, is what I bought for hobbyists. No, even professionals who don't want to play stuff. And then every year for creative professionals, you can go Studio, and it gives you a lot of cooler things. Work with Max, USB, Liquid, Velocity Control. Then it gives you unlimited shortcut sets built for the iPad Pro, keyboard support, magic gestures. So literally, they just, what used to, I believe, be the whole Astropad program, they figured out, hey, we could do a pro version and charge people more for it by separating the features out. So like I said, just the standard works well enough for me. It actually, I believe, gives me the ability to pinch and zoom, and the pressure sensitivity, I believe, works. But I haven't used it in a while, so I'll have to check that out. So that's kind of cool. So Affinity Photo, there's one feature that I can tell you that blows Photoshop away. You know, whenever you have, like, you're applying a filter on Photoshop, you have to actually apply the filter, and then like the preview is never really full. You can't really see anything. You just get a static stuff. In Affinity Photo, if you're on a filter and you're going to apply it, you can actually see a live preview as you're making changes, and the picture's changing behind you before you even hit apply, which I think is freaking awesome. I don't understand why Photoshop doesn't do that, but I digress. So I'm going to go back to the Affinity Photo, and I got to move this window out. What I like doing is putting this window to the side so I can at least see the name. Wait, will you stop being problematic? So I push it over to here. So it's at the corner of the screen, so at least I can see the names. So here's what makes Affinity Photo kind of cool. Affinity Photo has enough of the Photoshop things that I like to use, and it has a different feature set that Photoshop doesn't have, that to me, it's kind of worth getting your hands on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this a little bit over. So the reason I'm doing this is when I use Astropad, I actually set up an area of the screen that I'm looking at. So now I can actually see every tool and everything that's on the screen. So what's cool about Astropad, if I want to zoom in, I can use my 2-finger pinch. So this is me on my iPad zooming in, and it's zooming in using my 2-finger gesture. So it allows you to do zoom. So what I'm going to do here, I don't know if I saved it, so what I'm going to do is create a new one. So it's doing 1920 by 1080. Yeah, that's what I use for most of my movies that I do anyway. The DPI, I'm going to punch it up to at least 300. So this is going to be a pretty big file. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to do a quick sketch of Blue Jay. And then from that sketch, I'm going to see if I can add, I'm going to show you one of the cooler features that it has. This is its shape section. So, I mean, the amount of shapes that you can actually do with this is like bananas. Let me just see. I just want to double check too. Yeah, so you guys are seeing my full screen. So its shape features are really hot. One thing that blew me out is there's a rectangular cutout and there's the elliptical cutout. So this thing already has like balloons made. And I figured out a way, since they have another program called Design, Infinity Design, which is a lot like Illustrator. It has a lot of the tools that I'm used to, like in Autodesk Graphics. And since I love Autodesk Graphics, and Autodesk Graphics is like $30, and it does everything I need to do, that's the only reason I'm not getting Infinity Designer. But if I didn't have a really good vector program, I probably would be looking into it. So this is what's kind of cool, but all these shapes exist. And what I love is this tool right here. So what I'm going to do is going to try to do a quick drawing of Blue Jay over here. Make sure, see, I actually chose the wrong brush. This is the selection brush, which is kind of cool. You can actually select things with a brush tool instead of doing the outlines that we always have to do. But the select tools have the magic wand. It has a few different ways for you to select stuff. So like I said, it's gonna be a bit of a learning curve, so I can learn some of this stuff, because this is the first time I'm using it, but I think it's so far pretty cool. And the most important thing is it can export out as Photoshop files, PSDs, and it can import PSDs, which are really the two important things. It can open up a PSD, which are really the two most important file formats, things that you basically need to be able to do. This way you can actually share with anybody. So these are all the different formats that it can export out to. PNG is the one I use the most because I usually use transparent layers. And then you have your GIFs, and then you have your Photoshop layers too. I believe this program also lets you do 3D panoramics, which is another cool feature that I actually like a lot, that I'll be probably playing around with here. I also have a program on my iPad to do that. So what I'm going to do is, I think I have a brush now. Let's see. I'm going to bring the brush down to a more manageable width. Let me see what that looks like. Still a little big. Let me see if I have pressure. No, I do not. So pressure is not one of the things that you have here. So I'm going to Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. So I don't really have pressure. And I'm going to draw in this layer. And I'm going to change the color of the brush. So let's say if we pick here again, this is width. Flow stabilization. Enhancement. So I'm just going to work with this for now. Let me see if I go for color. Oh, I got to learn what the colors tools are, but let's just start with the Blue Jay, just to show you an example. I'm going to zoom in a bit. So Blue Jay, easy peasy. And we'll drop his head. Or should I start with his body? We'll do body first. So what's kind of cool about it is I'm connected to my computer over Wi-Fi. Astropad also lets you connect via the lightning cable straight into USB. So if you ever have like a weak Wi-Fi connection or things are being janky, you could actually always do it that way too, which is actually a pretty neat feature. Like I'm pretty much a Mac Apple head right now. I'm not happy with some of the stuff that they've been doing with the computers, making it harder for you to upgrade. All the features that made the Mac like really good, Apple has like slowly and steadily removing. I just don't really understand what's the point of it. Steve Jobs may have been a pain in the butt, but at the same time, he kind of was looking to make the tools kind of easy for people to use, and that was like one of Apple's greatest things. It's ease of use for when you're actually doing stuff, installing hardware, or doing any of the other things that you wanted to do. So the key thing too is this is a rough drawing. Like if I was actually doing this, this would be my first pass. And what I usually try to do when I go to ink a piece, like in Procreate, this would just be what I have for the body sitting around. And then what I would do is I would actually refine it again to try to redraw it a much tighter version. I would be fixing anatomy. I would be fixing a lot of other things that might be a little bit off. So, like, to me, he looks a little short. So I have the tendency when I drew something like this and I don't like the way it's looking, I would actually do like selections. Did I move this again? How come every time I move it, I lose part of the screen? Let me see. No, I did lose it again. Is there a way to close this? I don't like this library thing. It's got to be a way. Let me just see Windows. That's not the one. View. Library. The docs. Let's see what happens. Ooh, that's better. I have the tools. That's what I wanted. Oh, there's the colors. Oh, when you bring it, I must have not. Wow. All right. So, yeah, there you go. It's all normal now. All right. So now I can just do that. All right, cool. All right. All righty then. So I chose my color. I can close it here. This brush is a little bit too big. So I'm going to bring it down to 3. And what I'm going to probably do is start doing a fix on top of it too. Okay, so what I don't like about it, what I drew here. So this is the body's down over here. This is over here. And it goes there. It goes here. So that's probably what's going to happen there. Should have actually did this, because this is more what I want to see. All right, so should have made a neck, because there's no neck on this one. That's why the drawing looks a little janky to me. I'm gonna up this a little bit so the blue takes over. I could have used another layer. I just don't feel like it right now. All right, so what you guys don't see, but I see, as I draw, I see a little pink trail being drawn on my iPad screen. But what's kind of cool is you guys don't see that at all. So I get to see the cursor kind of moving. So I have an idea of where it's going. What's really nice is the delay on the iPad and what's being drawn on the screen is really small. It's a bit more than if I was just drawing directly on the iPad, but it's still not so bad that you can't actually draw with it. Zoom out, move over. Not sure what Blue Jay's doing here. Why he's so angry. His positioning seems a little bit more angry than normal. So the other trick you can do too is, this is weird. I'm watching the Astropad go like nutty on me. What is it doing? What is it doing? Well, I'm glad you're all not seeing this. So it did something crazy. Like it actually was like the screen kept on opening and closing. It's almost like I lost connection in my Wi-Fi. This is why usually when I used it the last few times, the first thing I've ever drawn using Astropad and Clip Paint Studio was the character Lady Mako. She's my second water character that I created. So that's a pretty interesting one. All right. So let's just say that's his shoulder. This will be here. So that shoulder over here, this whole arm is a little bit too high to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lasso tool. I'll use that and go around here. And then we'll just use move. Just drag it off. Yeah, if I do that with it, it looks better. I'll go back to the brush tool. Let me see if deselect works the way I think. Yeah. So if you're used to Photoshop, deselect is Control D. So this uses the same deselect control also. So that's why, like, when a lot of people are saying like it's hard to get used to, the only thing that's a little bit difficult at first is going to be relearning what tools are. And for any of that, if you're using a brand new program, you can actually go onto YouTube, and there's always somebody who did a tutorial and that goes through the program for you, so you're going to get an idea of what to do. So that's layer one. I'm gonna mess around with its opacity. I'm gonna bring the opacity down a little bit. And what I'm really interested in is in the blue. So I'm gonna create a new pixel layer on top. I'm gonna reduce the brush size to about 3. I'm gonna change this color. I chose the white. Where's my mouse? I still don't understand why I keep having to my mouse. You get out of the way. Let's go back to the blue. I'm gonna try to. The mouse is gone. Weird. And I'm gonna move over to black. I'm gonna hit close. I think I see something was drawn on that layer, new pixel layer. Get rid of that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zoom in a little. All right, so what I'm gonna try to do is just start blue jaying this guy up. So this will be second pass. Actually, if I'm going second pass, I don't even want that color either. I'm gonna switch it to red. All right, that's good. So I'll hit close. So second pass is adding in the face. So just for sanity's sake, I find that this is actually better for me to do, so I can at least know where certain parts of the face is going to be. When I don't do this, I'll actually have my face is going to be a bit crooked, and either the eyes are too far apart or not in the right spaces. So it's such a simple thing to do, to just draw those little contour lines so you can know what direction your face is facing, that you should just do it instead of not, because every time I try to eyeball it, I end up regretting it. So that's why I'm trying to do it now. So the only reason I'm doing this too is it's just because I want to just show some folks. I know a lot of folks who use Photoshop. This is $50 and once and you're done. And what I want to try to show is, like, there are other tools out there that are professional level and that actually have a lot of great capabilities, that you don't have to keep yourself trapped just using Photoshop or keep paying Adobe a set fee every month, because I can't get behind that. I mean, it's bad enough that it was so expensive when I first started using it. I used to use it at schools, or I used to have friends who would get me a copy of it. And the thing is, it became the industry standard, and everybody got used to using Photoshop. And the problem is the price was always so high. Like, the people who got the discounts were the big advertising companies. They're getting discounts, and then everybody else had to pay $800-900 for it. And then when you finally are able to get like a student discount or a copy that way, then you find out, like, they keep changing the versions, and like Photoshop used to be really specific in what it did. Then all of a sudden, like, feature creep started happening, where Adobe started throwing the kitchen sink into the program. Like, I never understood why Image Ready was put into Photoshop. So it was kind of weird. It was two different programs. I didn't understand why you wanted to have Image Ready and Photoshop running together at the same time, but they did that, I believe, in Photoshop like 6. This is way before the CSs, and it was weird to me. But, like, I mean, that was Adobe. They just did whatever the hell they felt like, and it never really made sense sometimes. So Blue Jay is like a pretty easy face. His mask is a heart shape, and it's an elongated heart shape. The nose is literally diamond. His ears, if you guys like drawing Wolverine, it's kind of like a Wolverine type setup here, and what I usually do. And the only difference is Wolverine's mask is set up to be, that would just be it. With Blue Jay, it feathers out, and I do exactly 4 feathers, 3 feathers, and 1 giant main one. So that's white. So you do it by doing M's. So you do an M, that creates 2 of the feathers, and then you do another M, using this as your second part of your M. So that's literally how I just do it. It's much faster than trying to figure out. So it's just the letter M. So everything I draw, it's like, that's kind of like I was teaching my daughter how to draw Blue Jay. So that's one of the reasons why I came up with shapes or letters. that you can use to represent a lot of the parts of the design. The other trick I do is to get his mask correct. You draw a line down from the center of the eye, and you bring it down to his chin on both sides. That's the space between his mouth opening and there. So that's how you can get the drawing to always match up. What I started doing too is just straight down here, add a line to here, add a line to here, and then I just do upside down U or a C, and then that's how I basically do his mask. So that's pretty much Blue Jay's face. It's really simple, but you can get a lot out of it. The thing that I do here is, if you think of it as a J, that's what this piece is over here. And then I just do a wide U just to meet up. So that's it. And then what I do for his mask is these two lines that come across here. And that's pretty much Blue Jay. Like, I mean, that's his mask right there. What I do now is I shadow out all here is going to be dark, a dark blue. And even the whites of his eyes get colored that way. And then what I do is I'm going to color his iris yellow. And that's what gives him the look that he has nowadays. And so what I'm going to do is, since now I'm really just drawing Blue Jay, what you saw before was just the layout of where the body would be. And as I draw him, he always turns out to be a lot cleaner, or even a lot better looking than even the layouts that I do for him. The other thing, out of a lot of my characters, Blue Jay is probably one of the more jacked, or one of the more bodybuilder type bodies of the characters. Most of the other characters are a little bit thinner than him. If you were to draw Cardinal, Cardinal's a little bit thinner than Blue Jay. Blue Jay's actually a bit more massive than him. The thing about Blue Jay is he's about 6'1", and his body mass is a lot denser than normal people. So even though it's 6'1", he's around 350 pounds. That's because his bones are denser and his muscles are a lot denser. So that's what gives him his super strength, and he's actually his skin is highly durable. So normal caliber bullet, his skin is as strong as Kevlar. Like, normal bullets could not pierce his skin. Just to pierce his skin normally, you'd have to use armor piercing rounds. That would shoot through him like a normal bullet. And then the new suit that I gave him, Noltanium, so those ain't even getting through. So so that's the idea I came up with Blue Jay. And what's interesting is, in Rush Parallels 2, that book, I kind of explain, actually I'm going to be doing one of the books I want to try to put out this year is my source book, and I have like 12 characters I've chosen that I'm going to I have about 20 characters I've chosen to do. I'm going to try to drop those in. Some of them, like the ferals, I'm going to loop them as one giant group. Iron Claw. So a lot of the characters that I'm introducing in book 1 and some of the people I introduced in book 2 are going to be in there. Another interesting thing too is Rush Parallels is going to show you, number 2 is going to show you something in time changed. So the world of Blue Jay and the Rush that you're seeing in book 2 is a little bit different than the one that was in book 1, because there are people who passed away in book 1. People don't know that I actually knew the story. I know everybody who died in the first book. Those characters are somehow magically alive, and you get to see that through Rush Parallels. You're going to see why a lot of people get saved and how things are going to change. Certain people don't go to West Side Park like they were supposed to, or now that they're aware of it, they come in at a different way. So it's an interesting little thing that I'm pulling off in that. It has to do with when we were in the Powerverse. When I was in the Powerverse, I was working with Vince. He was looking over the story, and my plan was to, over 6 issues, I was going to be introducing the people of the Rush. I was going to be doing all this different stuff. And he suggested, he goes, you know, you kind of have like 1 issue to introduce these characters to people. So wouldn't it be cooler to introduce the whole team in 1 shot? And what we decided to do instead was create a, why is this playlist not playing in infinitum? It's supposed to loop. I didn't have the loop on. So what he decided to do instead was, he said, why don't you do it like it's like a TV show, like you're talking about the Rush people, or you're talking about their secret identities, and they're on a mission at the same time. And then while they're going on the mission, you mention the normal person, and then you show their secret identity. And that is how I changed the book that I was writing. And it's such a much better way. I get to introduce the characters. If you ever seen Powers That Be, when he introduced Red Knight, Sea Ghost, and Lucius Hammer, there was this little blurb that tells you their name, and he gave you what their powers were. I actually added that into mine, into my stuff when I was lettering the book. So I actually had lettered those pages a while back, but I was like, hey, maybe it'd be a cool thing to kind of show, like, also for my character. So I added that. So the one thing, like, I love about, like, when Vince does stuff, the guy has a good idea and a good mind when it comes for branding and design. And he's actually, what I love is if he takes your character to write it, he's such a fan of comics in that respect. He will literally write your character in a way that is flattering, and not all writers can do that. There are writers I've seen, if they don't understand a character or can't figure the character out, they have the tendency to downplay the characters or make them do nothing, or have them sit in the sidelines and do something totally out of character, because to them this character doesn't matter so much, and they don't really have time to try to showcase who this person is. One thing I always tell you, if you actually gave your character, or Vince wanted to use your character or something, he always finds ways to show how the character, some of the best lights about the character, or show something interesting about the character, or try to at least give you some insight on who the character is as a person. And it's really it's not something that a lot of people can do really well when they write, but he's one of those writers that can do that. He's also really good at branding and design. So my Blue Jay and the Rush logo is created by him. The original, the one that I have on my books, and the one that I have in the motion comic video, and the one I use for my cover, that was created by him. And what I did is, the way he wrote the word and the Rush, it's actually a special effect font called Blam Blam. And now every time I do something with the Rush, or I create the Rush name, I use that font to actually write it. So I've created like 2 logos using that font. One called Rush Parallels, and the other one is called Rush Universe. So it was really cool. Like, there's a lot of neat stuff that I got from there. Where is the transform? It's here somewhere. I got my move here, but this arm's too big. So edit. Just flip horizontally. If I select it, actually no, I just have to select it. Okay, wait, I'm not in the right layer. That would explain. Wait, pixel layer, yes. That's weird. I don't know why I didn't select it. Yeah, we'll do it this way. All right. Oh, duh. That's on me. I should have just moved over to the the next tool. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna Control Z, Control Z. All right, I got what I want here. So I'm gonna. So this is like one of the cool things about when you draw digitally. You can fix a lot of things like you don't like on paper. I'd have to erase all that and or draw on top of it. It's a pain in my butt. The thing I love about digital stuff is you're able to. Yowzers. Let's undo that too. You're able to manipulate the whole layer in one shot. So I'm going to zoom out a little. Zoom out a little. Okay, so actually this is not bad. Actually, I want to shrink the whole Blue Jay down a little bit because his ear of his mask is getting cut off. I'm going to shrink this down. So this is the much better layer that I have. So this layer is like kind of garbage now. I don't really need it. As you can see too, when I tell you I tighten my drawing, if I put this layer back up and I bring the opacity all the way up, this is zoom. I meant bring the opacity of this layer all the way back up. So you can see what I have here versus what I have here. The body is way more refined. The muscles are way better. The face looks better. So what I do when I draw, I do everything in passes. That's why I'll do really rough layouts. Bodies look like crap. Everything looks junky. Then I'll do another rough pass on top of it where I'm adding the details of like what the character is supposed to look like and stuff like that. And then by the time I'm done, I'm gonna have a much better looking picture. So Blue Jay's stuff is pretty easy. The suit design that you see I'm using now, the Noltanium suit, this is something that Vince designed. He had done the design of Blue Jay. I didn't like the helmet. The helmet reminded me a little bit of Blue Falcon, but I did like the way the suit came out. And he's the one who came up with the gold gloves. He was even thinking of adding red into Blue Jay, but I was just like, that makes no sense. He's called Blue Jay. Why would you have red? And it's like, just because the character's name is that, you're just looking for the colors, the heroic colors of blue, gold, and red. But I'm like, yeah, but it still doesn't really make sense. So, like, I mean, I vetoed the red in it, and I actually did a colored version with the red in the background and the light blue, which I prefer. And I had people look at it, and everybody's like, yeah, the blue looks better. Like, I mean, the blue makes more sense, especially if his name is Blue Jay. But the reason Vince is always with the colors is because of if you think about a lot of the most iconic characters that we know really well in comic books, let's say Spider-Man, let's say Superman, let's say Wonder Woman, and let's go with the Flash, right? Superman is red, blue, and gold is his highlights. You'll see it on his belt. The belt is yellow, and the S on his chest is yellow. But Superman's primary colors are blue. Blue is usually for strength and trust, and then red is like very like bright, and it's eye-catching. Warns you of danger sometimes, but also it's kind of flashy. Like if you look at the Flash's full colors are red and yellow, and the Flash very fast, quick, and red is like in your head. Like if you think about most people when we design speedsters, most of our speedsters actually also follow that color pattern. There's more speedsters that are reds and blues than not. But a lot of people in the indie space, when you create a speedster, he has touches of red on him, because what's happening is your mind is familiar with speed in comics being synonymous with the Flash, and the red that's on him. That's why you see it a lot. The other speedster that has gained prominence in the last few years, Quicksilver, in the Fox movies, you don't really see his color palette, but when you saw it in the Marvel movies, Age of Ultron, Quicksilver did have his powder blue that he's known for. So there's a lot of stuff that's done with heroes and villains to show you layouts. Like why I always say that if you're drawing a villain and if you're going to be using red, think about Magneto. Magneto has red and purple. Purple is always used as a offset because one is majestic and royal, but at the same time, it's always been used to do villains in comic books. Green Goblin, the Lizard, even the Hulk. Even though the Hulk's a hero, Hulk has the color palette of a classic villain. And the only reason I say that too is if you look at even in his own comic book, Hulk was considered more of an antagonist. The military was trying to defend against him. And even when he was on the Avengers, he was always considered so dangerous that you couldn't even trust the Hulk to be on the team because he can control himself. So even though he's a hero, he does have a lot of those villainous traits that were thrown in comic books, like can't be trusted, dangerous, stuff like that. So the Hulk kind of still mirrors the villain palette, even though he was a hero. So that's Blue Jay. Blue Jay's done. That was second pass. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add in the insignia. What a lot of people don't realize is it's a bunch of rectangles on or elongated diamonds to create it. So that's the top wing, and then I'm going to do another elongated diamond here to create the next part of the wing. And when I'm going to try to do color work on here too. To be honest with you though, I would never draw like this if I wasn't testing out this program because it just doesn't really make sense to me. Procreate is still 100 times faster in my opinion. So, and I have no latency and I have pressure sensitivity. So I wouldn't even have to be worrying about that stuff. So Blue Jay symbol, again, same thing. Been down here, diamond, diamond, diamond. And this is basically, starts off as a V sideways, V doubled up, and then a line to connect the two V's. And that's what creates the symbol for Blue Jay. What I do with my utility belt, I add a line across, line across, line across, line across, and that's the pouches that holds. What I've been doing is I used to do stomach muscles like so, not necessary. So what I started doing is instead just the general feel of said stomach muscles. That's it. So that's Infinity Photo, me drawing in it. So I have laid this out so far. Next thing I want to try to do is, well, I created another layer. Let's see if I can merge down. I want to merge that one down. So wait a second, let me see what happened. Oh, that's awesome. So all of his extra stuff, all of his detail that I just added, is actually sitting on its own layer. That's just funny. I didn't even realize it just did that. I'm going to drop another layer. It must have been because I must have copied and pasted something. So I'm going to drop another layer on top. This one's going to be the ink layer. So what I'm going to do is, so when you're inking, just to get yourself a little bit, I'm going to drop the opacity of that down. I'll drop the opacity of this down also. Just so you can actually see a fainter look, so you don't confuse your lines. And I'm going to switch over to black. It's going to be my new color that I'm going to be working with. So now Blue Jay's almost done. What I'm really excited to show you really is not even all the drawing aspects of it. It's the thing I really wanted to show you is the cool features that you have with the, I'm going to do a word balloon in this program also. So I'm going to close here. All right, so here's the key thing. When I ink, and this is something I've seen from, this is an inking trick. I also saw this in the new 52, which is actually pretty cool, in Superboy when I was reading that. So what happens is the outline of the character, so that's going to be everything out here, the edges of the wings, the helmet, the wings on the helmet, this part of his neck, the shoulder, and the cape. Those are going to be a very thick outline. Then everything on the inside of this character is going to be much thinner lines. much softer lines. And the thing you do too is, I'm not even on the right layer. The thing a lot of folks don't realize is it's line weight is actually really cool. It helps give you, actually, I could try let me try another method. This is something I see Kimberly Mosenberry do, which is actually pretty cool, because I've always wondered how she got her lines so clean. Actually, I'm not gonna do what she does, because that's just, it's so surprising. She actually selects around everything and draws, like using the selection tool, and goes around each object to select it. The other way you can actually do this too, you could actually use like the pen tool. So let me show you what I mean. So if you were using the pen tool instead, so let's say I stop there. I'm probably gonna do it the normal way, because this is just another method of doing this. So now I'm gonna switch from the pen tool to the node tool. So let's give the stroke size, because we have no size on it yet. So I'm gonna keep going. We're gonna increase the width. So what I was gonna use, so let's say we do 3 or 4. Let's go 5, I guess. Control Z that one, so escape. And the way to stop it right now, I don't know any other way to do it. I switch to the node tool. And if I'm correct, I can actually delete nodes, which is really cool. But here's what's nice about this. So whenever you touch a line in the middle, this reminds me of the good old days with Flash. You can actually control the curvature of the line. And if you want it to be a little bit more curved, you just do this. Or I'm going to add that node back in. Yeah, so now you actually can control the curves of the line. So this is a really cool way of keeping your lines extremely straight, because these are actually vector lines. If you really wanted to see what was below it, you can reduce the opacity, and then you can actually manipulate it this way. So this is just another way, if you really wanted to keep your lines extremely straight and you didn't want to guess about it, that's one way you could do it too. But I'm going to delete this. I actually don't want to do it this way. I just rather just draw it personally. So I'm going to go, the flow is 100. And what's this one? Right click. What's this do? Oh, there's the brushes. Duh. I'm pretty sure I could create the same brush that I use in Procreate with this. So brush selection. That's pretty cool. So this is where the brushes are. I did not know that. But this is pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure you can duplicate and add more. So yeah, nice. Well, I just learned something. So like I said, I'm learning a lot about this stuff, because like I said, it's the first time I'm using the program. You're actually seeing me use it to do something that, again, like I don't really do anymore. I don't draw on the computer, because to me it's like pointless. Let me see. Yep, got my point back. So now what we'll do is we'll zoom in. So this is the same way, like if I was using the iPad with my finger, this is pretty much exactly the same thing I would do. Wait a minute. It does have pressure sensitivity. Look at that. The line actually is changing as the harder I press on the screen. All right. That's not a bad thing. So yeah, pressure sensitivity does work. I wasn't sure. It's just, like I said, it's been a while since I used this program. So what we're doing is the outline. And what I'm going to try to do with this is still give you an idea of the stuff that I was doing before. This is why I needed to move it, so I can actually do that fin a little bit better for that part of the wing on his helmet. All right. So the next part you're going to see is right here on his helmet, his neck, right here. Zoom back out. And then on his glove, he has two little neo-Noltanium straps. Now we just do the outline of the fist also. All right, he didn't show up, which is what I was hoping for. So here you go. So we're almost done. So I'm gonna have to go over that over again too. That looks a little janky to me. That strap on his arm, it looks a little too thin. So that's like the first pass on the outline. So let me just see how this is looking. It's not too bad. What I'm probably gonna do is what I did when I did Lady Mako also. I actually brought in the rest of the drawing. I finished it on the iPad because it's something that's so crazy to me is I'm so much faster on the iPad than I am on these things. It's just like back in the day, I would be killing for a tablet or a pen screen or stuff like that, but it's just not, it's not the same for me. So let's just say I wanted Blue Jay to say something right now, and I haven't even tried the text tool yet. So let's just do artistic text. Well, it's gonna do on the same pixel layer? Nah, man, give me a new layer. All my text on the same layer. Oh, it does create a text layer. So I'm gonna just do hold it right. Actually, no, I know I know which line I'm gonna use. This is Blue Jay's catchphrase, if anyone's wondering. Count on it. Count on it. Exclamation point. That's Blue Jay's catchphrase. So now the key thing about what I just did here, this really is artistic text. So what I'm gonna do, when I do lettering, the rule is you're always trying to get lettering to either go into a diamond or a box. Since count is a lot longer than on it, you want to hit enter and have them both on two separate lines. The next thing you want to do is you want to center it. So, and again, this font is hideous, so this is not the font that I would use. So what I have to do is, where is the fonts? Arial. Disgusting. Now let's go look at my favorite font right now that I use for lettering. The font that I like to use for lettering, I used to use this one, Crime Fighter. But now, it's not my favorite anymore. But the first Blue Jay in the Rush, Blue Jay in the Rush 2 is done with Crime Fighter. Creative block, no. It's a little bit too kiddie. I'm using Digital Strip. So that's 12-point font, which is huge. What I use really right now, that size I would actually be using also would be around 8 or 9-point font. So it doesn't look so overwhelmingly large. So I use that. Next thing I would do, I would use my tool over here. I would drag it. So I have my words sitting here. So when I letter, this is how I basically set up everything. Everything's set up as the words, the character saying what he's saying. I don't think I took my exclamation point there. So let me see. Let's go back into here. Yeah, it doesn't even know what it is because there's 2 fonts there. Let's do digital strip. Oh, it is. There you go. Now everything's the same height. All right, so we go back to this tool. So I put count on it here. So the next thing I'm going to need is, now I need my shape. The way I would do this normally is I would just take the ellipse tool and I would create an ellipse this way, boop, boop, around it like so. But what's kind of cool about this program is it kind of has already an ellipse tool set. The width I usually use is either 2 or 1.5 for the shape around my balloons. So I'm using 2 in this case. So instead of you using the ellipse tool and then have to draw the tail, I'm going to use the ellipse callout tool. And I'm going to make it boop. So look, I already did the word balloon. Now I'm going to drag that down a layer. What? Oh, Control Z. It became a mask. So this is why I actually like using back one. That makes it a lot easier to work with. The arrange tools here helps you change your layer levels. So I think this is a much better tool to use, because if you drag a layer into another layer, it actually makes it into a layer mask. Pretty neat. Really easy to do compared to some of the stuff I had to do in Photoshop, but that's pretty neat right there. So what I do is I get the balloon to have some space, almost a nice equidistant space around each other. But this is what I'm telling you I love about this program so far. So let's say this ellipse balloon that you see right here is actually a vector shape. Let's say I still think that 0.2 is too high. So I'm going to go to 0.5. Now, here's the part I think that's actually pretty cool. If you go to the node tool, let's see if I can get it. I am on the right one, right? Let's zoom in. Zoom in there. And let's see if I can get it again. Node tool. It's not working this time. Oh, wow. Who knew? That is pretty freaking neat. So you literally can actually take the nodes, you can make it wider or smaller, which I think is really freaking awesome. And then you can make it come up or down. That's just brilliant. So like, I mean, if you really don't know how to make these balloons like I do, this is actually a fantastic tool for that. Here's why. I'm on the freaking pen tool. Node tool. Let me see if this works now. So with the node tool, you can actually drag the points. And that's what actually makes the node tool pretty cool. So I'm actually moving the point around only. So I'm moving the point. So let me see if I can drag it down. Yeah, not letting me. But yeah. Let me see something. Make it a little bit bigger this way. So that is straight up. Yeah, I didn't even know it could do this, but this is actually pretty impressive. Wait. So that's actually controlling its size. Let's see if I can make it a little smaller. Yeah, so, but what I like about this is you can actually create balloons. So let's say you wanted to add another balloon. Besides him just saying count on it, you want to say, no, you won't count on it. So I'm going to create another text bubble. No, you won't. Oh, no. No, it's not. No. You better believe it. No. I don't know what line to put count on it. I'm stopping you. Count on it. Yeah, I'm stopping you. There you go. Capital I, I'm. And there's already a mistake that the I is wrong. I'm stopping you. Exclamation point. And what's kind of cool is it's in the really big angry font. So that I needs to be that I. In comic books, only I's that have the bars on top of them is the one that is like talking about I'm. And I think it might be if it's the name of something, but I still usually see people go for I'm stopping you. I'm stopping you. Is it 2 P's or 1 P? Let's see. I don't even trust myself. Where's my notes? Let's do stopping. Yay, it's right. Double P. This one's wrong. You can help me if then become a patron to support me in creating art. At yuck, yuck, yuck. Yeah, I just wanted to fix that. So I'm stopping you. Count on it. So now let's say I wanted to put a balloon here, and instead of actually doing another connection, I can go and use the Ellipse tool and make a new balloon. Oops, Control Z. Not the ellipse call out. The Ellipse tool. Make a new balloon and have it connect to that one. I'm going to drag our balloon over a little bit. Yes. I'm going to use my drop down to bring it down a little bit, and I'm going to move my words to match up. Now this is something cool that I just found out with this program. So I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to, this is Control Select or Command Select on a Mac. See these two right here? I selected them together. Since this is not a program like Perfector Drawing specifically, and instead of drawing the ellipses, I can't put the ellipses on the exact same layer. I still can combine them. One of the ways you could do it is with a mask where you hide the connection, or the way they came up with it is if you go to Arrange and you do a live stack group. What? It did it for you. Get out of town. So I'm really loving that. Like when I found that out, that's just me playing around looking for a union tool. So yeah, you can actually group together two balloons. It creates a live stack group. And if you open up the live stack, oh, is that what that means? That's pretty cool. So what it can do is in your groups, it can actually do your unions and stuff like that. I think that's what that actually is doing. I wonder what this does. So let's say if instead of doing that, let's see if we did outlier. Didn't change it. Let's see if you did mean. Didn't change it. And maximum? Didn't change it. Well, I don't know what these mean, but I gotta figure that out. But this is pretty cool. So when you do the median, it just combines them together and you have your font. So that's pretty much what you can do with it. I mean, it has perspective tools. It has mesh tools, warp tools, which is something I use a lot right now in Procreate. So this has it also. It has a lot of the different tools that you might actually want to use. And if you watch some of the tutorials and some of the stuff you can do, I don't think this is like such a bad program to have. So the thing I need to do now is I need to export this as a PSD, because if I export it as a PSD, I can now bring it back into my iPad. So the cool thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to do File. I'm going to do Export. I'm taking a PSD as the export, the whole document, and I'm going to say bilinear resample sounds fine. Don't export layers hidden. Yeah, whatever. Export. So I'm gonna call this count on it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save it in my cloud drive. I'm gonna save it in just the general, and I'm gonna hit save. So now I have that done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get out of Astropad. I'm going to shut it off here too. We can quit. I'm going to try to connect my iPad back to the computer. Seriously? All right, let's see. I need to get QuickTime. QuickTime. Not charging. That's not a good sign. So that's my Affinity program. I got my Blue Jay ready to go. They're charging now. So what we're gonna try to do, we're gonna open up QuickTime. Come on, QuickTime, you can do it. Let me see something. Did iTunes put that stupid voice memo nonsense again? Let's minimize. No, it didn't. There's my iPad. Yay! All right, QuickTime. All right. So what we're gonna do with QuickTime is we're going to do File, New Movie Recording. Don't be a jerk, QuickTime. You can do it. Open my box. Do it. Let me see. What do I have open? Ugh. Well, that's a good sign. It's better than it just saying can't do it. Oh no, it's going for my camera. I don't want my camera. Nope, we want the iPad. Go to the iPad. Ah, you're tricky. Aim down. Boom. Yippee skippy. So I switched over to the iPad instead. All right, so the trick is we go to the iPad. I get me into Procreate. And what's kind of cool about all of these programs is the way they work with each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an import. And I dropped it into the cloud drive. And there's my PSD count on it. I'm going to hit that. And importing. I don't know if I have a lot of layers. All right. Count on it. So I put it in something that I can actually work better with. Wow. It can't deal with this. So there's a layer mask. So it's actually done with 2 masks. That's pretty cool. So now that I have the layer mask here, I still can do the same thing. Switch my mask into black. And I go onto this layer mask. Don't be a jerk. I have no worries. This will work. Okay, so we got that one. And then we're going to go to this layer mask. Yeah, so even Procreate can pull it off. You just got to think about how you're doing it differently. And for safety's sake, we'll add another layer, and we're going to cover this area between these two images, and we're going to fill it with white. Fill. So this way it's actually covered, and I'm going to go to black. I'm going to go to my inking tool, and I got my two layers. I'm going to move this one up all the way to the top in front of the words. And then what we're just going to do is we're going to ink using vector pen. So we're going to clean some of this up. So we got it now. So let's just go fast. The only reason is, like I say, go fast is Procreate. Like I said, it's just, I'm so much faster in this. And what you were seeing when I was using the Astropad, that's just one way if I want to use computer programs with the iPad. That's a cool way for you to be able to do that. But it's not something I actually need to do. So what I do is a lot of the stuff that I actually want to design or work on, I can do them much faster on the iPad. If I don't want to, the only reason I wanted Affinity Photo, if I want to do a quick manipulation of a, if I want to do a quick manipulation of a PNG, if I want to take a picture and transform it into a PNG, that's really why I got that program for. Sometimes I don't want to have to crank up the iPad and do all of these different connections to get to the same point that I'm doing where I am right now. So, like I said, it's a much easier process. And you're noticing that I'm a lot faster with what I'm actually doing versus when I was using it through Astropad. I was trying to use the program and shortcuts. Like if I need to, let's say if I have this, I did this and I need to get rid of them, I tap twice with my finger, and I have like a really high number of levels of undo inside Procreate. So it's a lot faster for me. So this is, that's pretty much done. I think what I did for it, because I don't really know how to pull that off just yet. And then here we go. We should be able to detail, get everything done a lot faster. So like my workflow and almost everything that I do is really iPad centric for me. It's where I produce art faster and I do my coloring faster. What I use the computer for, like if I was doing lettering of a book, even though I can letter on the iPad, I've been having a little bit of like memory issues or stuff like that. I'm getting a new generation iPad, the latest generation. An 11-inch one is coming next week, Friday. So I'm going to be working brilliant. I hate when I do that. Move up. I'm going to merge these two layers together. Just merge, merge. Faster if I just do merge down. Merge down, please. Thank you. Toasty. All right. So what we're going to do is clean it up. Right there. Yeah. So drop that in. And through every pass that I do of the character, things will get more refined and more tighter. Like the nose won't be as big. So, or this side stays bigger because you see more of it, it's closer to you. This side gets a little bit smaller. It's a little bit further away from you. It's going to be a little bit more in shadow. Then what we do is we add that. We add this. So the way the eye looks. This eye is a bit covered. Put the dot in. And then we do light. Another trick that I do with Blue Jay's eyepiece. This is not something I recommend most people do. This is almost definitely, if you ever see me draw a Blue Jay, this is something that I do specifically to the eyepiece. It's a little detail that I add into the eyes that if you're drawing the character, you really don't need it. It's just something I like to do with it. But I really wouldn't recommend it if you were just drawing the character for the fun of it. But that's one way you can tell if I drew something, or it's like you can identify really quick if I drew a Blue Jay picture. That those little details that are there, I'm the only one who really does that, and I usually advise people not to because it's not really necessary. There's a quick version of Blue Jay's face I just did a few days ago, and it doesn't have them because I was doing it for more towards an animated look, so there was less detail in the inking. Same thing again. I'll just add that one. Same. Like I said, it's an embellishment that I do whenever I draw his face, whenever I draw the design. It's totally not necessary. Next part. And then his lips. And the fastest way to make a character look ethnic, or to make him look like a African American or a black character, you just give him whiter lips on top. It's a very similar thing that female characters have too. They have fuller lips, and same thing with his lower lip. It's a little bit fuller. And if you were drawing a Caucasian character, even Asian characters, this little thing that you're going to see here is something that's actually on my chin also. This is like some of the things that I add onto his face that are based on my face. But it's one of the details that whenever I put on it too, if you take off the mask, it should also be there too. And what you'll notice too is shadows are basically added with just simple lines. So let's say your neck is here, Adam's apple. This I'm gonna use. What's kind of cool, like I said, with Procreate is it now generates shapes for you. So you can actually do extremely well. That one's bad. You can do your shapes in a much more cleaner fashion. this is going to break down to here. That one touches here. So these are deep. So we'll just do R. So if you're wondering, this is the beak of the bird. This is the finch-like thing that you have on blue jays. This is the wing. So just to do it the other side, it's literally just doing it again, same shape. And you have the meat, and that's what creates that effect for it. What I would do is, so it doesn't look so off, I actually have to make this one, the heights should match. Really, how about give me a pen? The height should kind of match. Then it won't look so weird. So once the heights match, that looks okay. And then this tricks too. I've seen other artists who've drawn this logo. They've gone with lines. They've done it in different ways. So there's different ways to pull off this look. But in reality, it's really 4 symbols that generates the logo, no matter what. So to save myself time, because I don't really want to do this all over again, I can do a select. Make sure I got all that. 3-finger swipe down, copy and paste. I will take this, undo one, move down. And this is like one of those symbols I should save somewhere. The same way I do Nightfire stuff, so I don't have to keep redrawing it, because in reality it's always the same. And now what we can do is we can make it fit into the new station that we have it on. So what we'll do is manipulate this one a little bit, move up a little wider. This one, can we work together? Move this one down here. So there you go, simple symbol done again. What's cool is if I need an oval, instead of me having to try to draw a perfect oval, that gives me my oval. Save me time again. What's interesting is the color of the oval that you see here, that's not what's going to stay. I'm going to change it a little bit up. Move that down, move that over here. And there you go. It's actually going to be closer to being hollow. Now, what I try to do is create almost like a connector. So like this is like more of a buckle. And then this one is connected that way. So if you're looking at these, what all these shapes are, so it's like an L, you just add a line to the bottom, or you round out the bottom a little bit, because it's not exactly a straight shape. And then just the top, like just drawing an L. So now that gives you it going around the body. So we try to reproduce the same thing again on this side. So if you did like a rectangle, a parallelogram, straight down, this way, a little bit here. Now what we're going to try to do is make it mirror the other one that we can see. We'll erase a little bit off here. And we'll soften the bottom just a bit. It's a little bit too far out. So we'll try to make it look very similar to what you see here. Yeah, we cut that out right here. And there you go. So, and then we just reproduce. Like, if you really wanted to be lazy, you could actually just keep copying and pasting it, or you could copy the ones you did on the opposite side and then just like reproduce them, just flip them and just alter them a little bit. But this is like a really easy pattern to do. These are smaller, that's too big. So one of the things I just noticed, I am going to resize these from the top. A little bit from the bottom. It's a bit better. That looks a little bit more in line because the other way was just gigantic on one side. And then pretty much the rest of him is done. The reason, like, I also went for this new suit design too, much faster to draw. Back in the old days, I would draw a tunic. I'd have a bunch of extra pieces that I'd be adding in. The point of the tunic, the overlap that gets cut here, and it's just a lot of extra things to draw. And same thing, the gloves were a lot more complex than these bands that you see on his arms now. If you really think about it, remember Cyclops when Jim Lee was drawing him back in the day? Those are reminiscent of what I have, because I had started drawing. I had copied the symbol for the belt. That's why the belt's on a different layer. I actually want to take this piece here too, and we're going to cut and paste. We're going to move you down under the words, under the balloons actually, this way, and save ourselves some time. I'm just going to merge them. So there you go. So now we have our word balloon. And pops up. One of the things only reason like you might see the "I'm stopping you" count on it. The "I'm stopping you" is like him really yelling. So when you are, and also when you bold italic stuff, sometimes the fonts get a little bit bigger, even though it's still at 8. So it's an interesting feature that happens. So it looks like it's more emphasis. And sometimes when I'm lettering, you'll see normal words, italics, and then you'll see bold in there, especially when you want to emphasize a word and its importance. And the thing that does is it actually makes the lettering looks a little bit more, what do you call it, dynamic. It looks a little bit more meaningful than just leaving everything in the same font all the time. Wrong layer. Let's not start that again. You two can merge again. What I'll do is I'll start looking on here. This cuts over here. Shadow the heck out of that. This has line. Like, this is one of the weird things when I was younger. Every line that you see that is created by just the weird shading that I would do, I had the tendency to like go over those as shadow. And the way I used to do shadowing too, it was just full black. So that's not. Do you believe this? I still am on the wrong freaking layer. Just frustration. So let's do this again. Cut and paste, yes. Well done, soldier. Let's get onto that layer and let's merge. Merge down. Get it out of the group. Merge down. Goodbye group. Yay. So some of the stuff I'm not liking here. There wasn't as much control as I wanted using Astropad. But like, I mean, that's just for folks that really want to use the PC really badly. I'm not one of them. So I mean, it's cool to have if you're in a pinch. You just download the program on a PC that the person might only have, like Photoshop or something like that. But again, as long as I have my iPad, I'm not seeing how that's ever going to happen. But it definitely could help some folks who are comfortable with Photoshop try to acclimate. Like I said, I saw a guy use Clip Paint Studio, and he actually did a whole comic book page using Astropad and Clip Paint Studio. He did the lettering, he did everything through the Astropad and Clip Paint. So it's definitely doable. And he was also using just the standard. He wasn't using, I don't believe he was using the Pro. But you can definitely see stuff like that on YouTube. My plan is, when I'm done with this too, I'm gonna probably upload it on the YouTube channel so folks can see. Because like my point is too, if you don't want to spend a monthly fee for paying for Photoshop, I believe Affinity Photo is actually a good substitute. What you have to do, just like if you started using Clip Paint Studio, you stop using Photoshop, you're gonna have to acclimate yourself with the tools. And a lot of these programs do follow a lot of similar conventions. Once you understand what the tools are and what the tools do, you should be able to then move up to full speed and get there, and probably be as proficient as you were when you were using Photoshop. And like I said, it has some differences, and it has some cool, what do you call it, little tools that you don't even find in Photoshop. So it's something to keep in mind. If you're getting tired of paying Adobe a monthly fee, you still can get PSDs. So if you had to share work or had to send it to somebody else, you can export it at a very high DPI, and you can actually send it to somebody else for them to work on. So that's the only reason, like I suggested, as a possibility. And for anybody who's using Clip Studio Paint or Clip Paint Studio, even if you use that predominantly, if you have something and you want to send it to somebody who has a different program, always export as a Photoshop file. Most programs nowadays can actually open up PSDs. On a Mac, you can actually open up a PSD in Preview, which is like kind of crazy to me. On Preview, you can open up PSDs, so you can actually see all the layers inside a PSD in the Preview app that comes with the Mac. So I did a quick video. It wasn't quick. I did a video yesterday where I was showing how I'm doing some of the screencasting stuff that I'm doing. What I chose to do here is I shared my screen. So when I opened up the program on the Mac, where you see that I'm actually using the QuickTime and I'm sharing my screen to the Mac, by sharing the screen, I'm able to show you every program that I'm using. It makes it a little bit easier to show you different programs and different applications. So I was able to show you Affinity Photo, start something on Affinity Photo, and now you're watching me do the cleanup and the finishing on Procreate. Procreate to me is such a clean app, and it does so much. I started figuring out things before some of the tools that they've updated were done using Procreate, and I would actually take Photoshop tutorials and I would use them as a guide for some of the stuff that I was doing. I figured out how to do alpha channel selections in a kind of weird way because of the reference feature of a layer that Procreate has. You're able to select all the white space around ink work, so you can actually still select everything inside of it. So you're able to do alpha channel selections that way. They created a new automatic selecting tool, which is very similar to a lot of these brush these brush selection tools. So it's kind of exciting. I mean, I feel bad that these guys don't have like a donate area, and if they do, I have to go find it. They're like a bunch of developers from Tasmania, Savage Interactive. I would donate money to them, even $1 or $2 every few months or whatever. If they had a Patreon, I'd join. I'd become a patron on that again for even if it's $1. It's still, I think this program is so well worth it. When they used to sell brushes, I used to buy the brushes. Not that I can't even make my own. It's just that I felt like I wanted to support these guys because this is such an amazing app. I mean, it's brilliant. And the stuff I've seen people create on it, I mean, what I do is all right, but I've seen I've seen masterworks created with this app. It blows my mind how powerful and capable this thing is. This is just the way I ink. It's just my style. It looks a little bit messier than some, but this is just the way I do my stuff. And I get the results that I'm looking for. And what I like to do is I like to ink people who draw really tight, because it forces you to try to figure out how to show their work and how not to block it, but just highlight or make it darker for the coloring process. I mean, for the printing process, and not change their work too much. Phil Williams Jr. was the one who told me about lines, because I used to look at the way he inks certain things, and it's weird. Like, he gets an organic feel on some of the stuff that he inks that I can't even describe. It makes things look like they're alive or something. Like it's a cool inking style. Like his style and his art is definitive, and it's really easy to see that he drew it. It's sort of like when I used to look at comic books a lot. I can tell when Jim Lee drew something. I could tell when Scott Williams inked something, because Scott Williams was such a good inker. He's part of the reason why Rob Liefeld actually got really popular, because Scott Williams used to ink Rob Liefeld all the time. And Scott Williams was an artist, and he changed and he became just a pure inker, but he used to actually draw comic books too back in the day for Marvel. But now he just inks predominantly. And as good as Jim Lee is, I've seen some of Jim Lee's pencils that when you see the inks, Scott Williams, like I said, with a guy's a really good inker, Scott Williams fixed some of his pencils. Some of his pencils actually got embellished through the inking process. And Jim Lee's a really good penciler. So you gotta, when people wonder like what does an inker do, an inker can do a lot. Can actually make a work look a lot better. And inkers that are not that good can make work look a lot worse, which people don't realize too. Sometimes you'll see this guy's work and you're like, but this guy is such a good artist. What the hell is going on? Why does his stuff look so bad? It's the inker. The inker demolished his work. It can happen. It's also bad coloring. It's funny with comic books because every portion of it can actually make the work look worse. Especially if it's like a really good artist. If you got a bad colorist, the colorist can actually make the work look worse. If you have like a bad inker, he can also demolish the work. So every aspect of it, you want to get somebody who's really good at what they're doing. And the key trick also with inking is the varied lines. By creating different line weights, you can create a feel for each area of the drawing. So what I'm gonna do, so I'm gotta clean up some of the stuff from the Astropad version that I'm not feeling. It looks a little a little warped. Alright, I think that does it for Blue Jay on this, so I can get rid of these 2 layers. So there you go. Man, his neck is thick. It's like, it's the first thing I noticed, like, damn, bro. Yo, my man be lifting. Dude's got no neck. Alright. That's a little bit better. Let's see what I can do here. Just gotta remove some of the black. It's better. So, as you can see, that's him inked. I'm not feeling that leg. That leg has almost nothing going on it. So we're going to add a little bit of shadow here. So that's the new suit. And he's pretty easy to color too. Thank goodness with the new design. So I think I know what I'm looking at now, so I won't screw it up. All of this is blue. Okay. I know what I'm missing. What I don't like about it, there are 2 things you gotta do. You cut off there. Okay. So his neck actually. Yeah, I guess. I'm not in love with both of the arms, but it's not bad. The easiest way to make this look better. So what I was talking about before, these are actually not solid. These are actually gold. So what I can do is erase the line in between to give you that, and I can do the same thing over here. Clean the outside, and then over here clean in here. So let's see what we have. Yeah, that's a Blue Jay. I'm stopping you. Count on it. I'll buy that for $1. All right. Clean, clean, clean. Everybody do your share. All right. Close this up. So like you can see, his mass heart shape. So it's a really elongated heart. And then this creates, the reason I do those lines is to create that beak. And then have the big part of his nose. But yeah, that's a Blue Jay. Count on it. And then if we add a layer. So let me just give you a quick look. I'm going to drop this layer down. We started with that. We went to this. And we finished off with that. So let me see. I think it should be around over there. Nope. So his color scheme is pretty simple. This is what I mean by reference layer. So I do a reference. So let's say I wanted to just get everything. I wanted to get the background. I'm going to just use a really bright color like green. And now I'm going to select here and drop it in. And I do here, drop it in. Now if I took out Blue Jay, whoops, that was a mistake. I didn't go into the new layer. Drop it in, drop it in. Now if we took out Blue Jay, this could be like very similar to an alpha channel selection. Back in the day when I didn't have layer mask, or if I actually had a full background back here and I needed to block it out, I would do this, create a white version of Blue Jay, paste it on top of everything. So I would have different layers. Nowadays, if I did this selection, I hit select and I go to a layer. Let's say we create a new layer here. And let's say we're gonna fill that layer. That was based on the selection, so that's not exactly what I was trying to do. Let's get rid of the selection completely. Let's fill the layer. Fill. So I can now create a mask using the selection. And then I can do mask. So that creates the effect that I'm looking for. I can get rid of that. So now if I don't have anything, you have the white background. And if I wanted to get rid of the background, just so you can see, it's clear there. And this Blue Jay can be added here. And then if we add back our white background, all right, so what I would do, the reason that's kind of useful, what's his predominant color? You know, white actually might still be the best predominant color for him here. So what I'll do is I'll add a layer. I'll invert the selection. Select, and invert the selection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that selection. Okay, let's not choose white because then you'll be a little bit confused. Get out of white. Dark blue. Like that dark blue. Right around there. I'm going to use this dark blue fill. So half of him is already colored. The only reason I think white would have worked better is because there's a lot more white on his suit. And this is how we do coloring real fast. You literally are just going to cut out or block out the areas that you want to change the color of. I don't have to be careful because I'm going to have to come back to that anyway and fix it. We add that. So if his arm, the blue is on the inside, so everything on the outside is white. This is the first time I drew Blue Jay suit. Actually, it's the second time I've drawn Blue Jay suit without referencing it. For the first, I don't know, year after I changed the suit, I was having a lot of trouble remembering how the pattern flows. The one I don't know is like if I switch to his back, I kind of have to do, I have a reference drawing for it, so I have to look at that just to make sure I get the pattern correct in the back. That's the only thing about some of these new designs. You have the blue. You can fill in the white. The white is in. Next one we're going to go for the powder blue. That's this lighter blue. All right, so next thing we're gonna go for is the inside of the cape. So this was the one where Vince, based on color, was thinking it should be red. And I was like, the guy's name is Blue Jay. Why are you gonna even have a red on him? It just doesn't really make sense. So I was like, nah, man, I can't do it. Now let other people see it too, and I also let my kids see it, and then they're like, they prefer the light blue. So that's what we went with instead. The reason I also changed the suit was my daughter draws, and I asked her which one's easier to draw. And this second suit design is much simpler. And I can just tell you, it's just about how fast I can color it and about how fast I can actually do the changes to it too. There's a lot of blue here, that color. Dark blue. So this over here is light blue too. Let's reselect again. When I lose the ability to add more to the selection, all I have to do is unselect and reselect, and it keeps track of everything that I selected before, and it allows me to add more to the selection. The reason I do this, dang, I shouldn't have done that. Jeez Louise, what was I thinking? All right, that's gonna be here. That's gonna be here. That was really dumb on my part. Sometimes being careless makes you have to do extra work. All right, if I got this right, this is light blue also. And here's dark blue. So we subtract, and we subtract. Let's see, that's correct. And here is light blue also. I missed some white. I could have done this already. I'm gonna have to come back and do those white tips and the white part of that. Over here. That's good. Yeah. All right. So we just do a fill on all of this. Halfway there. Okay. Really dumb on my part. This should have been. It should stay blue. Instead, I changed it white for nothing. So we select this part. Quick outlines. Fill that. Fix this. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Gold is the one of the other ones. Gold is in there. Let's finish off the white that I somehow missed because I sure wasn't thinking. All right, so let's do this white here. Almost done. That one's done, and this it's all white over here too. Boom, and now we just do fill. Now we need our gold, and then grays. Actually, gray first. So this is the gray I'm using this time, and it's simple enough. Follow the big thick line. So let's see. Now we go around the ear. Almost there. Let's go. Let's go. Is that Big Mojo? I think it is. All right. Oh, the belt. Mostly gray. Except for that part, which is gold. So that's gray, that's gray, and the top of his head is gray too. Almost done coloring him. We do this. We hit enter. Let us do a fill. Yay. Sure is faster than the other one. So now we're gonna go for gold. Let's go for gold. This gold or that gold? I guess that bright yellow gold. So go for gold. This is flatting, if anyone's wondering. What you're literally doing is finding all the colors and you're trying to create a completely clean hookup between, yeah. So what you're supposed to do, there should be no gaps between the colors. That's why you always pick up base color completely. There's folks who do this for a living. I couldn't. That would drive me crazy. Just sectioning out all the colors on a page. Just too much. And they will use crazy colors like hot pinks, aquas, not even the colors of the characters. Gold, gold, gold. I got that gold. I need to. Come on, man. Seriously? No. Invert that selection. God dang it. What a mess. Completely got to do everything from scratch. I'm gonna do them in pieces instead. That's just too much. You know what? Skip that. Not in the mood. Oh, when I was so close to being done. So close to being done anyways.
Execute. This is what my first one will do. Look at it. Look. It took me so long to make the word. Oh my gosh, December 22nd, 2018. Oh my god, that's so old. There's a world, and the last time I played it was December 22nd, 2018.
Should have done the eyes too.
Yes, because it's old. I'm going to go back to it still. No, it's old.
And I'm gonna use white. And white here. So let's see what's left. His face. Yay. Face is a little bit more brown than most people. Fill there. And there you go. What I would do too is, even though the lip is shadowed, I have the tendency to darken it, the top lip. Compared to the rest. And then what I do to save myself some time is I duplicate this, I multiply it. I have a new shadow layer. Same concept that I always do. Go to here. I'll use that brush. Let me see how big it is.
This is the world.
Up to. Oh boy. Let me see. Zoned out. Let me just see. Alright. should be done with this. So what I'm gonna do after this is I'm gonna do same thing I always do nowadays is add the highlight layer to brighten up the picture itself. I'm gonna add in an additive layer so I can actually brighten up his eyes and his gloves to give them a little bit of more metallic look. Alright. So let's see what we do next, right? We're gonna duplicate this layer again. I'm gonna select the multiplied mode. We're gonna clear. And what we're gonna do is bring it into screen mode. So screen mode gives us a brighter color. This ugly thing can go. I gotta change this color. We're gonna put an alpha lock. I actually don't even need one. Orangish. We're gonna fill. Oof, not liking that. Maybe make it some orange. Fill there. Yeah, that's a bit better. We have that added. We have this added. It's white. Wow, that was useless. Let's do delete there. We're not done yet. The best is yet to come. There is another mistake. Holy moly. All this off on the multiply, maybe this color. That's what's off. Blue Jay's nose. Blue Jay's nose. Let's work on the layer that we actually have. Is this color. Crazy little patterns that I created. Darkness, darkness, darkness says. Give me that. I'll reduce. And we're in airbrush, yes. Light here. A little there. Light here. Let's see. All right. Alrighty then. Less dark. So let's try that again. Duplicate. Select. Clear. And you, my fine feathered friend. Blending mode screen. Yeah, a bit brighter. So last thing to add on top of here is an additive layer. Pen is going to be the luminescent light pen. First thing we need some yellow. Need some yellow. And let's go to town. Oh, that's weird. So light blinking. Wrong eraser. Yeah, right eraser. The black shining through. So yeah. Now we're gonna do it over here. Actually, a better color fit here is orange. Not exactly 100% orange, yellowish orange. بدأني يوم كان يومي جزء Nice. Do that. A little bit of eraser. And a little bit of eraser here. A little bit over here. All right, let's see if we can do the same thing for the golos. All right. All right. time is it right now? That's midnight. That'll do around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Relax. Let's dull this out a bit. Yeah, it just never looks as bad over here. This is, so frustrating. I'll try to blur it a little. Too much. It's just right. That's what happens with it. Too bad. And let's group these two together. So I can select them. Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, that group. Let's do my favorite other thing I'm doing this. So we're going to duplicate the background 2. Just apply the mask. Give me a break. That's some good crap. Skitty. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply, duplicate. Yes, multiply. And use the pen tool again. Brush. Whoa. What the heck is that? Splatter. Whoopsie. See how that works. Select. Select this one, and let me see if I can use light brush. Wrong layer. No. Ho. Okay, that's not the brush I want. The brush I want is a painting word brush. Ugh. This is like really frustrating. I'd like to select this layer. Right. Let's change it to an added layer. Let's change you to a more interesting color. Okay, yellow. Now let's try the word brush. Too soon. Blur. Multiply on top. Yeah, that's not too bad. And I can live with that. Yay, Blue Jay's done. Okay, so let's try one more trick. One more thing. So on here, I'm going to add a layer. I want to go into let's fill. Oh, you need to be under this too then. We're going to screen it. Screen. I don't like the color. Color's like nasty. So let's do. Let's fill. Yowzers. That's even worse. Ew. Yowzers. That looks horrible. Yep. Leave it alone. Yeah, I think that's it. So that's just part Affinity Photo and part Procreate. So let me just show you Affinity. So this is where we did this. I drew all of that on from the iPad using Astropad, and on the iPad and Astropad on the computer. Allowed me to use my my iPad as a graphic tablet, which basically it's a display tablet where I can actually draw on the screen and control things with the Apple Pencil and the iPad screen. That's again for folks who want to do stuff like that. This program is called Affinity Photo. This is what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be getting rid of Clip Studio Paint because again I can't, or Clip Paint Studio, because I can't stand the fact that I now have to go look for a license again, and I'm not in the mood. So I just got this for $50. I'm going to be definitely looking at it and watching some videos so I can get a little bit better accustomed with the tools that are there. But it's a pretty cool program. You can do a lot of interesting stuff with it, and I'm gonna see what I can fish out, or if I need to create quick PSDs or PNGs. This is the program I'm probably going to be using, and I'm going to look into how to do a 3D panorama on this, and I might actually stream that when I'm working on it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. How many hours was that? 2 hours ago. Of course it's 2 hours. All right. So I'm going to be ending this here. So see you dudes and gals later. So all right, y'all have a good one. I'm out.